You're listening to the Mind Over Finger podcast. This episode is part of Gear Up for Fall 22, a special 5-episode series that brings you everything you need to gear up for an amazing new season of music making. Let's go.
Welcome to the Mind Over Finger podcast, discussions on mindful music making, efficient practice, and building a purposeful career. And now, your host, violinist, teacher, and high-performance coach for musicians, Dr. Renee Paul Gauthier.
Hi, everyone. I hope that this episode finds you doing amazingly well. Welcome to Gear Up for Fall 22, a special series of 5 episodes to help you gear up for an amazing new season of music making. It's hard to believe, but it's already September, and that means that Season 5 of the Mind Over Finger podcast is starting soon. I'm so excited. We begin September 9th, and I have so much great content ahead for you this season. Wonderful guests, lots of tips and tricks and tools to help you with everything related to your music making experience, and a special workshop on October 14th. It's going to be an incredible journey together, so thank you for being here. And as I prepare for the 22-23 season, as a podcast host, as a coach, and as a performer, I'm setting goals and getting organized, and I'm guessing that you might be in the same boat. You're getting ready to tackle all sorts of new projects and dreaming big for the months ahead. So I thought it would be great for us to revisit some of your favorite past episodes of the podcast where I discuss important foundational concepts and I give you everything you need to get ready for an awesome season. So I've selected 5 episodes from the spring of 2021 that cover everything from setting goals to getting you set up for success by helping you build your amazing practice regimen. In the first episode of this Gear Up for Fall 22 series, we're going to get epically aligned for the months ahead. You're going to walk away with a renewed vision for the future, clear goals and specific strategies to implement, and the motivation to get started, and most importantly, to keep going. The second episode is all about planning and scheduling efficiently for better results. I share strategies on how to plan for productive practice and how to schedule it in a way that maximizes your time so you can operate at the highest level possible. In the third episode, I share my favorite tips about a powerful ritual that can transform the results you get in the practice room, priming. In the fourth episode, I share my favorite tips on how to create an effective warm-up regimen. And in the fifth and last episode of this series, I teach you how to create an efficient practice session breakdown. You're going to hear about the 3 basic qualities you want in a practice session, the mindsets to nurture to be productive in your work, and the general sections to include in a solid musical progression. So get comfortable, grab what you need to take some notes, and make sure to visit mindoverfinger.com/resources to download the various resources that come with the episodes, grab the episode transcripts, and to join the waitlist for the free fall workshop. All those links are also going to be in the show notes. All right, are you ready? Let's gear up for Fall 22. I hope that after going through the reflections and exercises in this episode, you'll walk away with a renewed vision for the future, clear goals and specific strategies to implement and create an incredible musical future for yourself, unwavering confidence in your ability to succeed, a feeling of dedication to the process, and the motivation to get started and, most importantly, to keep going. So no matter what your goals are, whether you want to be ready to rock the stage for your next performance, win an audition, land your dream job, transform your online studio, or whatever it is, it's possible. And this episode can help you set things up for your massive success. So I encourage you to sit down and do the guided visualization and the reflection exercises and put all your thoughts to paper. You can pause, rewind, reflect, and take as long as you want or need to answer the questions. And I also recommend that you take some time between the 3 different sections of the episode. These gaps are going to give you the opportunity to deepen your reflection and clarify your thoughts. That space gives us information and inspiration. It gives us clues and leaves room for our intuition to show up, speak up, and send us signals. So I encourage you to pause the episode between each section of the workshop to give yourself that time to reflect and come to more powerful insight. Don't rush this process. I've covered this content in the Mind Over Finger Tribe, my private Facebook group, over the month of December. And today I'm bringing you the reflection and exercises of all 3 workshops in this episode. If you want to watch the recordings of the live events, they're still up in the tribe. And they're going to stay up for a while. And of course, I'll have that link in the show notes for you. And to make things really convenient, I've put all the questions and exercises of Gear Up 2021 in PDF format, and you can grab it at mindoverfinger.com/resources. So without further ado, grab a pen and paper, get comfortable, let's get dreaming, planning, and implementing for an amazing year of music making for you. Let's gear up for 2021. Part 1 is all about dreaming. 2020 brought so many disappointments and so much grief, but also good things. So let's start with acknowledging the silver lining and igniting gratitude. But why gratitude first? Science shows that when we express and experience gratitude, our brain releases dopamine and serotonin, and these neurotransmitters stimulate a happy mood and positive feelings. And I don't know about you, but I show up differently in the world when I feel happy. I have more courage, I have more energy, and I'm more creative when it comes to figuring out ways to create the things I want in my life and to make them happen. So if I'm to way oversimplify all of this, I'll say that by acknowledging the things that are positive in our lives rather than brooding on what's wrong, and by focusing on gratitude and creating a more positive mental disposition for ourselves, we start the game strong. And that's how we want to start 2021. Strong, courageous, confident, and energetic. So the first thing I'd like you to do is to identify and write down 3 positive things about 2020 that actually contributed to your life in a meaningful and positive way. So you can pause the episode and take the time to write these 3 positive things that contributed to your life in a meaningful and positive way in 2020. This is an incredibly powerful practice that I incorporate in my daily regimen, and I hope that you'll consider taking on a gratitude practice as well. The second thing I want you to do is put aside some time to take inventory of your 2020 schedule. Grab your agenda or open your online calendar and look at all the activities listed in 2020, week after week. And as you do this, pay close attention to the way you feel when you see these items. Do you feel joy or dread? Is this particular event on your schedule something you look forward to, or something that is positive in your life? Something that's necessary in your life? Something you want to be doing year after year? Or is this something that drains your energy, that brings you stress or frustration? Is this something you could let go of and open up time and space for things that nurture you and serve your most important purpose? Go through your schedule and ask yourself those questions. And as you do that, put items in 2 separate lists. The things you welcome in 2021, things you want in your life, and the things you wish to let go of in 2021. Seeing those on the page will begin to give you a clear idea of where your energy and your time are going. And without making any decision in the moment, start thinking about the ways that you could bring in the things you want in your life the things that would light you up and energize you, and let go of the things that eat up your time and energy unnecessarily, the things that hold you back and leave you feeling depleted. And when you look at things that you wish you could bring in your life or let go of, but you don't think you can, I'll encourage you to ask yourself if it's really true that you don't have a choice there. Have you looked at all the angles, all the ramifications, and the true costs of not going for what you want and continuing what doesn't serve you in the long term? And let's say that you don't see how to make that happen right now. Are there small steps you can start taking to change things? And if you really feel like you can't add or take away something, how creative can you get about making do with the current situation in the best way possible? How can you make it work for you? When you've done the schedule inventory and you have more clarity on the things that you wish to bring with you or leave behind in the new year, let's take a minute to experience 2021 and let's get dreaming. I invite you to sit down comfortably as I take you through a visualization exercise. And before we jump in, I want you to give yourself permission to dream. Give yourself permission to forget about what's possible, what could happen, what makes sense, and just let your imagination and your intuition lead the way. So let's settle in for a few moments and let's take some time to get grounded, get aligned, and get dreaming. If you're not already, please come to a seated position, ideally with your back supported and your head free. Close your eyes and gently bring your awareness to your breath. Let it flow and experience it fully. Take your time to find your comfort in this position, still connecting to the breath, full inhales and full exhales. Feeling the air going in and out of your nostrils. Feeling it filling and leaving your lungs. Noticing the way your rib cage responds to each breath, expanding and contracting. Now take one big inhale, and as you exhale, let go of the things that are weighing you down. Inhale gratitude and powerfully exhale fear. Fill your lungs with courage. Push out doubt. Inhale joy. Exhale stumbling blocks. And in goes inspiration and insight. And out goes fear of failure. Breathe in lightness. Breathe out limits. And with each breath cycle, feel happier, more grateful, and lighter. And as you're sitting right here, right now, fully experiencing the present moment, let's travel ahead a little bit and find yourself a year from now, December 2021, living your very best life. See vividly where you are. See what's surrounding you. What's happening in your life. See the amazing projects that have emerged for you. See the ways you've said yes to yourself during this year. See the qualities you've developed. The skills you've acquired. What are they? See your musical life. What does it look like? See yourself practicing, performing, or teaching. How is it happening? What does it feel like? See clearly who you've become, who you are. And as you hold this vision for your future self, know that this person lives within you right now. This person is you in this very moment. And holding this vision of your very best life, knowing that it's already happening, you're already creating it. Come back fully to this present moment and still breathing. Gently open your eyes. Now, still holding on to this vision, write down anything you'd like, anything that struck you, strong images that popped in your mind, or any strong feelings that you feel the need to journal. Of course, you can pause the podcast if necessary. And still hanging on to this lightness, this gratitude, this courage, I want you to answer the following questions. If I knew that all is possible and that I cannot fail, what would my musical life look like in 2021? If I knew that all is possible and that I cannot fail, what would I play or what would I do? If I knew that all is possible and that I cannot fail, where would I be? If I knew that all is possible and that I cannot fail, with whom would I be doing all of these things? If I knew that all is possible and that I cannot fail, what does a perfect day in my life looks like? And finally, If I knew that all is possible and that I cannot fail, what are the 10 things I would accomplish by the end of the year? At this time, we're done with the first part of Gear of 2021, and I invite you to take a little break from this episode, and I'd love for you to set some time aside to sit down and reflect more on those questions and to journal. See what comes up intuitively for you when you ponder on and look at the answers. Now, here's a big PSA. Fear, or the voice of reason, or doubt, they will show up. I can say without a doubt they will pop up in your head. But I want to encourage you to stay in that space of possibility, of courage, of intuitiveness, of confidence, and continue to give yourself permission to receive and consider anything that shows up for you. And as time goes by, start to notice which one of those 10 things you listed earlier seem to jump off the page and really call at you. And when you're ready, go on to part 2. And part 2 is all about planning. Let's zone in on a more specific goal or some goals, and let's start planning. So thinking about the answers to part 1, and especially looking at that list you created, the 10 things you would accomplish in 2021 if you knew that everything was possible and you could not fail. Which one jumps off the page and feels exciting to you? And pick the one that really lights you up. The one that feels like an exciting, awesome goal. Is it to win an audition or learn a specific piece, learn a new skill, organize a big event, change how you organize your home studio, start a new business? It doesn't matter. Go with the one that really gets you excited. Of course, you can apply the process I'll take you through now to many goals, but I recommend starting with just one for now. So think about this one big awesome goal, write it down, and when you're ready, let's get planning. First, list the elements or actions needed to make that goal come to life. So thinking about your goal, what do you need to make it happen? And keep in mind, I'm going to have this in the PDF for you. Do you need specific equipment? Specific knowledge? Or do you need to develop some new skills? How about enlisting help? A coach, teacher, babysitter, help at home? Once you've identified what you need to make it happen, start drafting the unfolding of events, starting from where you are or starting from where you want to be. So for example, for a big performance or an audition, I like to reverse engineer things. What do I need to do the morning of the audition, the day before, the week before, the month before? How many mock performances do I want and when do I want them? When do I want to have the repertoire mastered or memorized? When do I want to have all the notes learned? Do I need to set up some equipment maintenance? When is that going to happen? Etc., etc. By the way, it's always a draft. We want to plan, but we don't want to pin ourselves. So we're going to have a lot of flexibility. Planning helps, but you probably want to see it as a perpetually evolving draft. This avoids a lot of stress and anxiety. So hold yourself accountable to meeting the milestones when you set it up, but also maintain a flexible attitude towards them. When you have your draft, you can start putting these milestones in your calendar and looking at the list of things you need and looking at your timeline. Establish the first action item on your to-do list? What is the one thing you can do first to get the ball rolling? Hire a coach or a teacher. Contact someone for advice. Put something on social media. Buy a piece of equipment. Do some research. Just pick one action item to get started and write it down. So this is it for part 2. By now, you should have established your one big goal, looked at the elements, skills, or actions you need to take, everything that can make your vision come to life, and draft a list of those things. You should have a draft of your timeline and the milestones you're planning for. And you should have established the first action item on your to-do list. And before we start part 3, this would be the perfect time for another pause to keep reflecting and noticing the patterns of thoughts that are emerging, the recurring ideas, and the words that keep popping back in your head. I think it would also be a good idea to spend some time thinking about the kind of schedule you want in 2021. And whenever you're ready, we embark on phase 3, which is all about implementing. And here comes part 3. To recap, in part 1, we got the dream machine going. We started with gratitude to come from a place of positivity. We did a visualization exercise of your best life a year from now. You took inventory of your schedule and made a list of the things you want to welcome in 2021, the things you want to let go of in 2021. And you answered a series of questions to visualize your future life in even more details and identify your meaningful goals. In part 2, we zoned in on one awesome goal. We got planning, and we worked on a blueprint on how to make that dream come to life. And now we're going to be creating the optimal context for you to be able to implement and make this goal happen. If you've been following me for a while, maybe you've listened to episode 71 of the podcast, where I talk about motivation, where it comes from, and how to get motivated. And if you haven't, I recommend you do. And you know that I think motivation comes from action. Small actions create small or big wins. And it's those continuous wins that fuel motivation and create massive momentum in our lives. So let's set up a life that supports that dream and makes it easy for you to spring into action. Creating the optimal context starts with knowing yourself and understanding and assessing your current situation. So have your pen in hand and your paper ready. We're going to create 2 lists. First, list 1, we're going to start with the major areas of your life and the way things are right now. Remember that nothing is separate. Our physical well-being, our mental well-being, our happiness, our finances, all of this affects how we show up in the practice room, at work, on stage, in the teaching studio, everywhere. So let's examine things more generally. On a piece of paper, plan for 3 columns with a little bit more space for the right column. And we're going to do this a little bit differently than the way we did it in the tribe. In the left column, we're going to list 10 key aspects of your life. Then in the middle column, I'm going to ask you to assign each area a score based on your own perceived level of satisfaction with that area. Don't base your score on how you think others see this area of your life or how you think they judge you. We're assessing only your own satisfaction with this area. And we're going to go with a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being an area where you feel very dissatisfied, and 10 being an area where you feel fulfilled. But again, this is based only on your own opinions and feelings. Also, just to clarify, this is not a ranking, so several areas can have the same score. And the reason we're doing this is to identify the areas where there is imbalance, the areas where you could feel unhappy, stressed, dissatisfied, and that would take away from your focus and your ability to take action towards your goal. I'm sure you can see how examining this, noticing where the imbalance and dissatisfaction are, or where the stress comes from in your life, will give you tremendous information and clues about why you've been or haven't been able to achieve the things you wanted in the past. So here we go. Number 1 is physical health. How do you feel physically? Do you feel strong? How's your energy? Number 2 is your mental health. Do you have worries? Do you feel stressed or motivated or sad, happy, fulfilled, excited, or fearful? Number 3 is your environment. It could be your home, your office, or any place where you spend a lot of time. Are you comfortable there? Number 4 is joy. Do you have time for hobbies? Do you do things for fun? Do you take the time to relax? Number 5 is romance. And that's whether or not you're involved with someone. How do you feel about your love life? Number 6 is family and friends. How do you feel about your relationships with your friends and family members? Number 7 is finances. How do you feel about your financial life right now? Number 8 is purpose. What gives you purpose? Do you feel like you spend time on activities that are meaningful to you? Number 9 is spirituality. And finally, number 10 is growth, personal growth, skill building. How do you feel about the amount of time spent or the things you do for personal growth? Okay, we still have the right column empty, and we're going to get back to it. But for now, grab another piece of paper, and for list 2, we're going to turn our attention to the things that are directly related to your goal and the context you would like to experience in your life. I'm going to mention some things, and you'll notice that many are similar to things I mentioned in part 2. And I want you to write down the first 2 or 3 words that come to mind when you hear them. And please be 100% honest with yourself and really go with the first things that the little inner voice tells you. No filter. You might be surprised by what pops up. So, here we go. What comes to mind when you think about an environment that nurtures you? What do you need in that environment? What is present in that environment? What comes to mind when you think about the things that help you show up as your best self? And it could be things that you have, like the proper equipment, or ways that you want to feel in order to show up as your best self, like feeling well rested or prepared. Anything that helps you show up as your best self. What comes to mind when you think about the things you need to do your best work? It could be anything from a mindset to the way you set up your workspace, anything. Once again, in the spirit of honoring who you are and what your specific needs are, write down the first things that come to mind, 2 or 3 words. What are some habits that would support you and lead to success. So some habits. What kind of help do you need? You need a babysitter, help from your family, financial help. Are there any other needs you can think about? Maybe materials or tools, new instrument or a practice space, better physical environment, free time, any other needs that you can think about. What kind of schedule would support that dream? Do you need to set up accountability, like a coach, a teacher, a mentor, accountability with a friend or a trainer? What kind of accountability do you need? And now we're starting to have a clearer picture of our current situation and the kind of context we want to create for ourselves to allow for these goals to come to fruition in 2021. So let's talk about something crucial in making this happen, in giving you confidence and keeping your motivation going. And that is the utmost importance of easing into it and maximizing the aggregation of marginal gain. One of the best ways to ensure that 2021 unfolds the way you saw it in part 1's visualization is to ease into it. Think about it. How often have you sabotaged yourself or shot yourself in the foot by tackling something that was too big, or you were trying to bite more than you could chew, or you started sprinting too early in the race? I know it's tempting to dive in headfirst and go strong, but be extremely respectful of your needs and your limits and very, very judicious with how you expend your energy. Again, you want to ease into it the same way that you run a 5K before you sign up for a marathon, or build your way up to a 2,000 pounds leg press, or the way you don't expect to learn and memorize an entire recital program in 2 days. So especially when you're tackling on projects that are long haul, big dreams, meaningful, personal, you want to bank on the power of easing into it and on the aggregation of marginal gain. Now, what is that? The aggregation of marginal gain. If you've never heard of it, it's a concept that was made famous by a British cycling coach, Dave Brailsford, who led the British cycling team to 10 gold medals in 2008 at the Beijing Olympics. He decided that he and his team would focus on improving every aspect of their lives that related to the performance, and that these aggregations would add up. Brailsford believed in a concept that he referred to as the aggregation of marginal gains. He explained it as, quote, the 1% margin for improvement in everything you do, end quote. His belief was that if you improved every area related to cycling by just 1%, then those small gains would add up to remarkable improvement. And this works in our musical lives and in every aspect of our lives. In the beginning, there's basically no difference between making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse. In other words, it won't impact you very much today. But as time goes on, these small improvements or these small declines, they compound, and you suddenly find a very big gap between people who make slightly better decisions on a daily basis and those who don't. This is why small choices don't make much of a difference at the time, but add up over the long term. Think in terms of brushing your teeth every day, showing up in the practice room day after day, making healthy decisions about how you eat every day, or do that trill or vibrato exercises 5 minutes a day for a year. Those small decisions add up and they get you where you want to be. Of course, many other authors and speakers talk about it. Darren Hardy, the motivational speaker and author, talks about it in The Compound Effect. It's a big part of James Clear's Atomic Habits. And Gretchen Rubin talks about the argument of their growing heap. And I have a blog post about this, and I'll put the link in the show notes for you. So when you look at those areas of your life and these elements that help you show up as your best self, when you're trying to create the best possible context for yourself, the environment that's going to help you make your dreams become a reality, how can you incorporate little by little some habits and mindsets that are going to support you and lead you to success? Look back at all the answers you've written so far in part 3. Do you notice any similarities between list 1 and list 2? Any recurring themes? Can you see tiny little tweaks you could do to create an optimal context? For example, in both lists, you seem to need more time, but you have young children. Is there a really easy way that you could enlist help? Find a local babysitter, get help from a family member, or maybe make small changes in your schedule and coordinate better with a spouse or partner? How about those needs? Maybe you can't buy all of your dream equipment, but can you get or borrow one thing? Can you change one thing in your practice space to make it more comfortable and efficient? Is there one thing you can say no to in order to free up some space in your calendar? Can you squeeze in one more practice session per week? Or a few more minutes per session? How about one more mock performance before an audition? Now, going back to list number 1, the 10 life areas you rated earlier, turn your attention to the right column and at the top, write 1% tweak. Pick 2 or 3 areas that maybe concern you the most, or maybe you feel they're the ones that are the most out of balance, or maybe the ones you feel would have the biggest impact on making you more motivated and efficient. And in the right column, next to these areas, write one thing you could do differently that would be so small and so easy to implement that you would hardly see the difference on a daily basis, but compounded, might have a massive impact by the end of the year. Meditating 10 minutes a day. Drinking 1 fewer glass of wine or 1 more glass of water. Exercising briefly twice a week. Spending 5 minutes a day on a vibrato exercise. Going to bed 15 minutes earlier. Checking your budget once a week. Read 10 pages of a book. Taking 5 minutes a day to memorize 1 measure. Think about what you could accomplish by the end of 2021 that way. With only a few small tweaks in your schedule, you could change your entire life. Now, with all of this in mind, go back to the plan you've established in part 2 and edit as needed. At this point, there are no more exercises. You've been dreaming, planning, and developing your optimal context, and I hope you feel inspired, motivated, and that you have clarity on your goals and how to accomplish them, and that you feel confident about the incredible, amazing things that you will make happen in your life in 2021. I strongly recommend that you go back, maybe do the visualization exercise again a few times, and keep on refining your plan. But mostly start taking action. And I'm not kidding when I say that. So go back to that first action item on your to-do list and begin right now. Is there one teeny tiny little thing you can do right now to start implementing your plan right away? One person you can call, one email you can send, one internet search you can make? You've got the vision and the plan, so go confidently.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed
this episode of the Gear Up for Fall 22 series. If this content was helpful for you, please share with everyone you think could benefit from it. Catch all 5 episodes of this special series, take a screenshot, share on social media, and tag me so we can keep the conversation going. I'm Mind Over Finger everywhere. As always, I have all the information related to this episode in the show notes. You can find them via your podcast app or by visiting mindoverfinger.com, where you can also find more free resources on efficient practice and performance preparation and information on how to work with me. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter to receive your free guide to a productive mindful practice using the metronome, transcripts from the Mind Over Finger podcast episodes delivered to your inbox, and much more. That's it for today. Again, thank you, and à bientôt.